Welcome to the latest in Life in Sales, this time with Julien Gachot of Ivory, based in Paris, France. Hello, Julien. Bonjour.
Hi, Nick. Bonjour. How are you?
Yeah, very good, mate. You?
Not too bad, thanks.
So we start this off with finding out a little bit more about yourself. So do you want to give us an idea about who is JG and what does Ivory do? Off you go.
Well, if you want me to make that a long story short, I'd say I'm 47 years old. I'm sure I can be called now an industry veteran because I've been in this lovely audiovisual and broadcast industry for 25 years now after I graduated from business school. And I've been working for different American companies out of Europe, namely Pinnacle Systems, Media 100, Apple more recently. And exactly 10 years ago, I decided to go the entrepreneur route and founded my first company called Ivory, and which is a services company that participates in the transformation of the media industry with two services. One is a consulting practice, management consulting. And the other one, which is a separate business, is to help foreign tech companies such as Object Matrix to be successful in France and Belgium.
That must have been a big jump for you. You've been a corporate boy all your life. And then certainly the last, working for Apple and the success that you had there, that must have been a bit of a scary thing to decide to jump out and start your own thing.
It was, but it was also exciting because of two main reasons. Number one, it was back in 2011, and I think it was the first major difficulties I think that the media industry were facing. They were the first sort of industry crisis. So it was a difficult environment to start a company in that environment. It's also a great opportunity because when the industry faces difficulties, it's also an opportunity to help them transform.
Yeah.
And so I was fairly confident. I had not started any company before, but I felt very much prepared actually after that. Those 20 years and working with large corporations.
Yeah, it's a good apprenticeship, 20-year apprenticeship.
Exactly.
In that sort of 25 years that you've been working as Ivory and within the sort of more corporate bodies, what are the biggest sort of changes you think you've seen technology-wise that have driven change within the broadcast or within the video space?
You mean since the early 2000s?
Yeah, I think so. Like the most transformational change, tapeless or
last 20 years. Probably two aspects to that. The first aspect is probably on the change in the way people consume video.
Yeah.
So I would say I was at Apple at the time in 2007 when we launched the iPhone, and I would say the number one tech change is probably the smartphone era and everything that came with it. So the change, mobility, the way to consume video, I don't know how you say in English, individualization of consumption in the household.
Personalization. Yeah.
And I think all of those changes have put a lot of pressure on how media groups operate. We're thinking about content, how to engage with consumers, how to present content, going from linear to non-linear to mobility, consumption, etc. So I would say number one is the smartphone. With a huge impact on how the industry operated. And if you go back to how the programs maybe are made and distributed, I would say going to file-based workflows. So moving away, and you as OM, of course, you took that opportunity to offer object storage to bring security, instant access, instead of tape, whether it was, Betacam tape or LTO at a later stage. But I would say moving to file-based has tremendously changed the way the industry operates overall. So it's a smartphone and file-based workflows.
Trying to stay away from the pandemic word and the new normal stuff. So take that aside, what do you think the two sort of key trends technology-wise are at the moment in the, I say the video space, because we both know full well that it's not just broadcasters and post-production companies who are using our services and your services. It's corporate, it's energy, it's banks, so
institutions.
So I think it's more, the question is, the impact on what's going to impact the video industry. What are the things people are doing at the moment? And it is hard to ignore remote working and work from anywhere. So in your opinion?
No, I think if you put aside the pandemic, remote working was still a major trend. So if we were outside this COVID mess, I think you and I would still be talking about remote access, remote production. I think the industry has become global as well. So now you have, working on programs, you have people all over the globe that need to connect, collaborate. They need to, automate access content, review and approval processes, etc. Connect the studios with post-production, with delivery. So I think remote working remains a major trend. It's just the pandemic has accelerated that trend, I believe. The other trend I see is that people were all working in silos, and they were very concerned about their daily life, how to perform, their task at best, etc. And the trend I'm seeing in organizations is that each person in their respective roles, they need to understand better, what's happening before them and after them. So there's the consciousness of the fact that they are part of a global, business process that is much broader than what they're supposed to be doing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And that has an impact on how organizations operate. The consciousness of that they're, what I'm doing right now has an impact, and how well, the person before me does his own job impacts mine. And so it's a very, I think, very different way of looking at things now. And, we saw in the last decade, social network, digital teams arising next to broadcast teams, and you see all the problems that came with that, being totally separate, although it made no sense, really. It's just another means to distribute content and provide access to content. So going back to merging those two teams now forces people to be more curious, open their chakra, understand what's going on beyond what they're supposed to do and beyond their own team.
Yeah, I think certainly you and I have experienced this over the last, 20 years, is the broadcast technology and the IT teams will never meet because they don't like each other, they don't understand each other. And I think that's been completely broken down now. I think there's still an element of it, but ultimately, optimization of the supply chain, making sure the supply chain is working for the customer is really important. And so you're right, understanding what's before you and after you. And that's of course where you get more opportunities for orchestration and automation. And that's where APIs for me have made probably one of the biggest differences in the last 20 years as well. In that APIs enable that frictionless workflow.
Yeah, in fact, customers, when they turn to us now, they're concerned about their sovereignty. They are concerned about running the services on premise that are directly connected or linked to what they're supposed to be doing, and they're willing to move out of their infrastructure, the things that they'd like to submit to other people who understand it better than themselves. So I think they're also asking for sovereignty. It comes back to open APIs, open systems that can connect, talk to each other, better business supervision of the processes. And all of that comes down to IT integrations to service, media and creative services. So it's probably another major trend is to see IT standards servicing well our industry, I would say.
Yeah.
And moving to hybrid cloud infrastructure is probably the next big thing. So what do we need to keep on-prem? Why? Why do we need to keep that? what can we move to public clouds, private clouds, how that all that works, what's the rationale, how to look at it, and what type of talent do we need to have in-house or find outside to help us in the journey, and that's probably another major, I would say, business trend that we're facing or seeing or observing.
Yeah, so discussing stuff with John yesterday, our CEO, for those watching this, Object Matrix, that is. And we were talking about, the true cost of cloud. When you look at private cloud and managed services like we offer in the UK, and we're going to launch in France with you, Matrix Store Cloud. We do a lot of work for the customer that ends up being what typically, if you were to move workflows to the cloud, public cloud, you'd end up paying consultancy fees, DevOps, and really understanding the true cost of moving workflows to the public cloud. When you work with companies like Ivory or Embrace or Object Matrix, you almost get a bunch of consultancy for free, right? It's definitely a different paradigm as people are looking cloudwards. Understanding what a private cloud infrastructure can do for you over just moving to public cloud. And I think that's certainly something we're seeing. That's the reason why we're gaining customers for the Matrix Store Cloud platform. Do you see that being the same in France, do you think, and Belgium?
Well, what we're seeing is that projects that are well prepared, well framed, probably with the help of external consultants that have experience with more companies. They've gone through it. Their experience can benefit any customer as long as customers understand that if they don't rush into a project of that, because it's a company transformation project. It's huge.
It is, yeah.
But if they do apprehend it and they understand that they can find some help from the outside, people with talent, expertise that can help them answer the questions they ask for themselves. If the project is well prepared, then the cost of the overall project is reasonable, or you will see a clear ROI.
Yes.
If you rush into things and you discover as you walk along, most likely you'll see friction, difficulties, problems, and it will cost you a fortune. So maybe the IT world needs to also come into the way media companies operate. They don't, in the past, they've not always looked for a consultancy that can help them transform, because they thought they could do it themselves. They had the staff to do it, etc. But if they change a bit in the paradigm and they accept to broaden the team as they're analyzing upfront what's at stake, how are people working, what can be improved, how to streamline operations, what that means, how to make the life of the teams better, how to be more efficient, how to face also fierce competition, be more agile, etc. If they do that properly upfront, then most likely the project, they will see a clear ROI, they can measure it, they will see the benefits, and being more agile, for example, you can dollarize that as well.
Julien, do you know any companies in France or Belgium that can help with such consultancy work?
Not sure. Ivory, obviously, but there's a few others. We don't have all the same expertise or same areas. We're not all available at the same time.
Well, I ask tongue in cheek because obviously you've been doing some great work in France and Belgium, so you might as well name drop some of the customers that you've been doing that for.
So recently we've worked a lot with Orange, the French telco leader, that also have creative branch, and they also operate TV channels. We've been working with RTBF in Belgium on the TV, radio, and digital aspects. We've been helping Arte in Strasbourg as well, the German-French media group, very successful at the present moment. They grew their audience tremendously, both on the platforms and in broadcast recently with the lockdowns, etc. We work with Gaumont in the cinema space. We've been working with France Télévisions, of course, Lagardère. You've probably heard of them. They've been acquired recently by Media One.
In terms of the other side of Ivory, the helping companies come into territory, do you think that the French market in particular is different and needs to be approached in a different way than you would maybe to, if you were coming from the US to the UK?
I think each market is specific. I would say I think UK, US have a lot of similarities in the way to engage, the expectations, the habits. From our perspective, the Germany and France are more difficult in their own ways. I think they require local presence. They require understanding of the respective cultures. Um, you, it's it's yeah, they're subtle in different ways, but I would probably rank Germany and France as the most difficult on continental Europe. The others are difficult for other reasons, like Southern Europe. It's a little more, there's more tension on price, for example.
Yeah.
So it's not a cultural difficulty. It's just it's just like an economical situation, that makes them different. That you need to adapt. But I'd say, yeah, France and Germany definitely have specifics. So either you can have your own teams to engage. It's difficult to engage from the outside. Germany is across a very vast territory. You have like 10 capitals. Yeah. France is extremely centralized, a bit like the UK with London and Paris, which makes it different, but you need local presence, whether it's an outside company such as us at Ivory or having your own teams. But I think you can't be successful in those two major territories without having a presence on site.
So, yeah, completely agree. You've obviously represented OM, Iconic, Cantamo, numerous other brands. And what do you think the one thing that you've learned is when bringing those companies to market to be successful?
If we come back to our conversations 10 years ago when we met, we first discussed how we could possibly engage together. I was convinced personally that the big players in the media industry did not have the agility or the answer to all the new stakes, all the new demands, all the new needs that were arising. Yeah. And there were many companies around the globe that started building software as we're moving away from hardware as well. We did not mention this trend today, but it's a real trend.
It is indeed.
As we were moving away from hardware, moving to software, lots of startups had very smart ideas and came to market with solutions that were answering those needs, bringing the benefits expected. And some of them were very successful on the local territory. And basically, my vision was that with our experience and the sales process being a process like any other process, I thought, with that experience and the seniority, we could offer that as a service to these companies. They were not going to build subsidiaries instantly in every major country in the world. No. So I thought, okay, for France and Belgium, we can help, for a few months, 1 year, several years, to accelerate the penetration. So what is key is I think you need to spend the time to understand the company you're representing, their strategy, number one. You need to understand very well their best practices, what has made them successful in their domestic market or a comparable market to France or Belgium. And you need to execute that as best as possible with your own network. You need to leverage your network, access to people, access to maybe media, industry bodies, etc., to raise their brand awareness quickly, understand what's going on, where the opportunity is. I think it's mostly on the analysis side, understand the brand to be able to represent that brand natively as if everyone at Ivory was, working for you as an employee.
Yeah. No, I think Zena will tut when she hears this statement of people buy from people, but I think that in France, the relationship piece is huge, right? And I think that also showing some respect to the language as well, even if you make horrific errors or you say things completely wrong, I think my experience is if you make an effort, be it in the marketing collateral or when you go and visit, when we're allowed to visit again, the people open up a lot more to you. And I think that France is like really, as a market, probably, I don't know if it's more relationship based than the UK, but it's really seriously built on trust, relationships, and The French will definitely give you an open door if you show some respect in terms of their language and culture.
I was thinking as you were talking, but what is the difference between the UK, the US, and France and Belgium at the present moment? Well, not much, because before the pandemic, the difference was that we spend more time in restaurants, but right now we all eat our Subway sandwich on the keyboard. I think it's very similar at the present moment.
It's difficult to take a 3-hour lunch at your desk, isn't it, Julien?
It's impossible. So we feel American and
there you go.
And part of the UK.
Brilliant. Look, the sooner that ends,
the difference.
Yeah.
Of course, people buy from people, like you often say, and everybody agrees to that, especially in B2B space. That's why we work in B2B and less in retail, I believe, as individuals.
Yeah.
We appreciate that we have an impact. We make a difference as people with our energy, with our being serious, being with our listening skills and our passion, and of course that is connected to the relationships as well, because if people do not trust us, they won't buy from us.
So talking about relationships, you and I didn't have a very good relationship before we started working together.
It's an understatement.
So would you like to well, number one, has anyone else in your stable of portfolio of companies had a more interesting journey than ours in the beginning? And number two, would you like to explain how we met or almost didn't meet?
Are you sure?
Go for it.
No, I think I think you had a VIP treatment, Nick.
Oh, thank you. It felt that way.
Back in the days when you started OM with Francisco and John a long time ago, way before our time together.
Yeah, indeed.
One of your strategies was to engage with Apple and business development and show common solutions, right?
Yeah.
Between Matrix Store and Final Cut Pro workflows, etc.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, you were given my name, I think, in France or Southern Europe.
I was by Mr. Cockle.
And unfortunately, I think I was combining the French arrogance with the Apple arrogance, which made access to me extremely difficult for you. But you did, maybe you had intelligence on me, and you heard that I enjoyed lunches and dinners.
Very rare for a Parisian.
And I remember that one day you said, I'd like to invite you for lunch at l'Hôtel Matignon. So for those who do not know what l'Hôtel Matignon, it's the Prime Minister's residence in France, an office. In fact, at the time, the French Prime Minister's wife, Penelope, was a Welsh lady.
Yeah.
And so she, in her Welsh citizenship, she was really keen to help Welsh companies wanting to do business in France and participate in connecting people. And so in that context, you were invited, and you were invited also to bring some of your potential business partners.
Yeah, so
that's how we met, and I think since then
I'm going to take over. I'm going to take over from here. So Julian's right. I contacted him many times, got ignored. Saw him at trade shows, got ignored, and not in a rude way. And then I invited him to the Prime Minister's house for lunch with Madame Fillon, and he said, "Okay, I'll come, but I'm only going to stay 5 minutes." So we go in. He high fives all the security guards because they all bought stuff from Apple and all the rest of it. And we sit at the head table with Madame Fillon in the Matignon, and Julien turned around and saw the wine that was coming out and went, "I will stay a bit longer." And the rest,
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you're still talking to me after maybe 15 years now.
Yeah.
So, am I that rude?
No, you're not rude. You weren't rude. It was, I think that and you've probably found this when you first started out, when you were a startup, and we were a startup back in 2003, and it's very different to the web-based spin-up and AWS instant startup we have today. When you've got a technology that requires infrastructure and trust to put something in someone's data center, then it's really hard to get people to take you seriously. And getting people's attention is what was one and probably is still one of the biggest problems you face as a startup, to get someone from Apple to speak with you and talk with you about what you're doing. And we did really well in that respect. We started building things on top of the Xserve range and doing plugins for Final Cut and all the rest of it. But even then, getting traction with people in the territories you want to work with is tough. And then you become like one of your phrases that's one of my favorite is you become the stone in the shoe, right? You just constantly bugging that person to take a call, which can have the effect of cheesing that person off as well, right? And so, yeah, I think that when you're starting out and you're desperate to do something and someone doesn't want to do that with you or for you, you don't take umbrage, but you think, if they were in my position, what would they do, sort of thing. And I think obviously, we've worked together officially, I think it's 9 years this year. And, from the beginning, what you've always brought is a huge level of professionalism, process that you talked about in terms of sales and how we're going to do things. But also an enormous amount of fun, right? We've had a bloody laugh at the rugby. We've had a laugh eating food and my friends smashing crab all over you. We've dressed you up as a leek. We've dressed you up as a dragon. We've put you in a skirt at our Christmas dinners. And so our relationship, without it sounding too gushy, is really important to me and to Object Matrix. But I think that in those early days, we did probably find it tough to engage. And I think that's a lesson, I think, for anyone who's looking to enter a new market, who's looking to enter a new territory, is you've just got to stick at it and put the effort in. And again, if you show some respect to people and their language, then there's a good chance that they'll come round. So yeah, no, long way around of saying you weren't rude. Mm-hmm. Right, moving away. Rugby. So France are finally showing some real potential, building towards the World Cup, which I'm very excited to be coming to in 2023. Why do they then have to go off and eat waffles in Italy and break the bubble? Why? They're finally getting it right on the pitch. Why?
Why do we have 17 people with COVID on the team, you mean?
That's fine.
I don't know, maybe we were scared, either we were scared of, playing Scotland last week.
Maybe.
Or maybe we love our Welsh cousins so much that we wanted to leave you in the leading position in the tournament this year.
Yeah, that'd be good.
For a few weeks, huh?
I know.
We're playing the English in 10 days from now, and then Scotland towards the end of March. And hopefully we'll have a Grand Slam and win the tournament.
Well, I kind of, part of me was thinking of going along with the Scottish friends saying you should be thrown out of the tournament and have the game taken off you and 28-0. But then that would spoil the joy that we will get in Wales from winning the Grand Slam from you in a few weeks' time.
By default for not showing up?
Well, it is in Paris, and we have had some enormous fun for rugby in Paris. And in fact, this year we would have come over again and had the usual parties and an amazing time that we have. So, I mean, that has been a real issue, not being able to come over for that. But
well, I'm sure, Nick, that we'll be able to gather again.
We'll do it.
Enjoy those parties, meet new people, go to the game, and have great fun in Paris again. Yeah. Or at Principality Stadium in Cardiff, maybe next time.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, I'd probably have to be now. Mm. We'll do that next year. Right, finally, here's a challenge for you. I would like you to pronounce both of those Welsh town names, please.
Whoops.
So,
hold on one sec. I'm very talented with languages.
Yeah, no, I don't want you looking to Google to find how you say them phonetically, but number one, please.
How many attempts do I have?
You get one. Okay.
Lochlan.
No, you have to do that one again because that was funny.
Lochlan.
Okay, so not far off. And this will give you a clue for the next one. It's pronounced Bwlch Gwyn.
Okay.
Bwlch Gwyn. So that should tell you what the W sounds like for the next one.
Nisir Gwyn. Wool. Endless wool.
I think there's some of your Polish heritage is coming out.
Exactly, not my Celt for sure.
So
I need to bring someone from Brittany or from the Basque Country to help from the office.
That second one is actually very close to me.
I have one question. Are these the two most difficult to pronounce in Wales? Or
there's no English vowels in them?
No. There's quite a few Y's and W's though.
Yeah, there are. So the second one.
I know one word, Yachida.
Yachida, that's the only one you need to know. So the second one is pronounced Anisable.
Oh, it's easy.
Yeah.
Anisable.
Maybe answer.
Anisable.
Yeah, there you go. Excellent. Well, I don't think you did too badly. Well, look, thank you very much for spending time chatting with me. And congratulations to both of us on working together 9 years so far. Looking forward to doing a huge amount more with you in the next 5 to 10 years as well.
We've had a great time, Nick. You're right.
Yeah. And my recommendation to anyone looking to enter the French or Belgian markets with technology or companies is to get in touch with Ivory, which is at www.ivory.fr.
Lovely conclusion. Thank you very much, Nick.
Cheers.
See you
Bye.
soon.